I think Arrow's the only one to run both.
No, absolutely. And someone get Arrow a Lickitung and a Lantern plushie so he can have his entire team on stage with them because he's so close. He's 4 out of 6 here. And looking at the breakdown between these matchups, Umbreon, which was actually my #1 pick for this tournament because of how safe it could be, it's really safe once again. It's great against that Frostlass Lickitung. It's actually pretty good against Shadow Kanto Ninetales because you're able to double foul play for that knockout. And Medicham doesn't always even counter it. So I expect to see a lot of Umbreon. And then there's 2 water types available for Wadaj as well to really eliminate that Shadow Kanto Ninetales as a factor. And here we are. We're already in match #1 between Wadaj and Arrow. And it's going to be the Altaria versus Lantern lead.
Yeah, Altaria looking very strong for Wadaj in this particular battle. I mean, really, it's just the Frostlass that shuts it down in Arrow's own Altaria, but Arrow is content on just staying in this matchup. You really don't want that Altaria on the Medicham, and even Lickitung, Altaria typically favors and wins a little better. I mean, if you're shielding Moonblast here for Arrow, you're not in the worst spot.
Yeah, I really like this team composition from Wadaj here because you know that you've kind of eliminated
but Arrow is content on just staying in this matchup. You really don't want that Altaria on the Medicham, and even Lickitung, Altaria typically favors and wins a little better. I mean, if you're shielding Moonblast here for Arrow, you're not in the worst spot.
Yeah, I really like this team composition from Wadaj here because you know that you've kind of eliminated
but Arrow is content on just staying in this matchup. You really don't want that Altaria on the Medicham, and even Lickitung, Altaria
and decided to use the Protect Shield on the Medicham, so actually gave the Protect Shield back, so Arrow is going to be ahead on health here, but Wadaj has significant energy advantage. Do you soak that energy on the Lickitung? Maybe you come in with the Lickitung here, expecting the Umbreon. What a play, because I think he's expecting that Umbreon in the back, which was the correct read by Arrow.
Yeah, incredible read by Arrow, and I think Arrow recognizes how weak his team is through that Umbreon, expecting it in the back, and here it is. But again, this matchup is not the cleanest matchup. Yes, Medicham might be able to win this matchup, but Medicham is going to have to expend a lot of the full snarl through, and you can see Arrow not really pleased with that one, but you know, the thing is, Medicham has to expend this energy to take out the Umbreon. You can't come away with much energy because the Snarl and the foul play really add up.
Now, Umbreon can win the 0 Protect Shield situation. Wadaj got only 1 Snarl on the swap in because Arrow was really quick on his counter swap. But since Arrow didn't throw at precise fast attack timing, he let 3 turns of energy go through on Wadaj's side.
Out the Umbreon. You can't come away with much energy. Snarl and the foul play really add up.
Now Umbreon can win the 0 Protect Shield situation.
Wadaj the last resort, because if you go for the foul play, I don't think it's enough. However, going for the last foul play is not the worst scenario here. Yeah, you could definitely get to the last resort. Going for the foul play, I actually like this play a lot. Forcing a shield from Arrow too. But most importantly, if Arrow didn't shield, he could counter down.
The timer's back up, so you can pivot straight away, get to this Ice Punch before the opponent Ice Punch, and precise counting from Wadaj to knock out. I think Medicham might be able to hang on. If it can hang on, it will get to an Ice Punch. Can it endure? Yes! Can it get to a Psychic? No, just gets to that Ice Punch, but this is crucial. You never want to Protect Shield this, but can you get licked down now, Caleb?
I don't know, but I like the call from Wadaj to recognizing it's the Ice Punch because the Bison is going to do a little bit more damage. The licks are starting to add up, and Super Effective not able to get to that Psychic. And
too much licks, shit!
Get to the foul play. No, foul play's not even enough, and the lick is just going to finish off the Umbreon.
Someone get Arrow a Lickitung plushie because he doesn't have it, and that was his best Pokemon in that game #1, able to lick down because Wadaj didn't want to use an inefficient Protect Shield down the stretch because Body Slam would do more damage to Ice Punch. He calculated that no matter what, Arrow will get to that Body Slam, so it's more efficient of a Protect Shield to use it on the Body Slam, let the Ice Punch go, but at that point, you're too low health and you just get licked down, and then, how about Lickitung? Licking through the Umbreon even though it's resistant.
Yeah, Umbreon looking really safe for Wadaj, but at the same time, Arrow has a lot of neutral checks to that Umbreon. You got Altaria, pretty solid matchup for Arrow, and then Medicham, typically speaking, solid into the Umbreon to at least go toe-to-toe with it, even behind energy. You know, I think Wadaj is in an interesting position there. Potentially could swing that matchup if he didn't throw that Ice Punch. This is the Ice Punch I'm talking about here, right? the Ice Punch did not take
Yeah.
out the Medicham.
Can you throw
and,
it?
Yeah.
Well, not this one,
Oh,
the
yeah,
previous one, right? I think because Arrow's Medicham hung on there, was
Right,
able to
right.
get that Ice Punch damage instead of allowing Wadaj to come out with extra energy.
Right, no, absolutely. The thing is, in that situation, in the end game there, everything is so close to the margin, and I feel like the reason Arrow got to that point in the end game is because of the way he played the lead. It was weird, just this Protect Shield that for alignment, but the fact that he got so much damage on the Medicham really affected that in game. And here we are, Altaria lead once again, Say Swap Lantern, because there's no clear answer to Lantern on Wadaj's team. So once again, Arrow making all the calls.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's no clear answer for Altaria on Arrow's team either. Both
When
trainers
Frostlass is eliminated from the equation.
Yeah, both trainers actually running very similar teams. Wadaj swapping out the Medicham for his own Lantern. And again, going for the Moonblast. But this time, Arrow does not shield. Maybe expecting a bait this time, but it is going to be the harder hitting Moonblast.
Yeah, and so now the Altaria could be in position to Dragon Breath down, but instead trying to go for such a
yeah, I
greedy
can't
spark
beat
down
this.
here. If you can absorb
Go
this
wrong,
Thunderbolt, I think you would have to
because
absorb
fucking
2
aggro.
Thunderbolts to get the full spark down. You don't have a great avenue to do so, because if you see how much the Spark is doing, he is a lot of sparks away. I think you'll have to commit to a Surf at some point. No, actually, you don't have to commit to a Surf.
Yep.
This is a brilliant fast attack down, but this Lantern is actually quite low at this point.
It is, but the not very effective surface, not going to do too much. And now Wadaj comes out with almost 100 energy on this Lantern, and this Lantern energy is going to be super valuable for everything in the
Clutch,
back-end matchup.
but I'm
Yes,
certainly gonna
Licton
beat
has
him.
generally a positive matchup, but this is
Maybe.
a lot of energy that's
Let's
going to be
hope.
thrown at Licton before you get to the body
Ooh.
slam.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
tough.
I'm
You'll need
dead.
3 Thunderbolts pretty much and spark damage to knock out a Lickitung. And here comes the second Thunderbolt. Will Wadaj get back to the timer? The timer is ticking down. Every time there is a charge attack, it takes 10 seconds off the timer. So not quite
think
back
Arrow
at the timer. It
is
looks
gonna
like
win.
Arrow swapped. And now I think Wadaj might try to
Yeah.
pivot as well, or just try to throw a
Yeah,
Surf before it
picking
goes
for
down and
Arrow.
decides to just get that extra damage, similar to what Arrow did in that game number 1.
Yeah, and I like the position Wadaj is in. I would expect him to actually come in Umbreon into his matchup to soak up the energy. Actually, no, coming in with Altaria. Interesting. So he's going to have to shield up this Ice Punch, but the Altaria actually is in a interesting position because it still has a lot of Dragon Breath damage. I think maybe Wadaj is still just saving the Umbreon for the Lickitung, which is actually not a bad play because it's going to really shut down that Lickitung in the back.
I really like this Protect Shield because you can soak energy on Medicham, no problem with Umbreon. So even if there's a Protect Shield from Arrow on this Sky Attack, or if you just swap and catch the Ice Punch, no, right before the Ice Punch is available, if there's a Protect Shield, I doubt there is. Is Arrow...
Oh shit. I don't know if that's
really going to protect you? I think Wadaj is going to swap here. He's going to swap and try to catch this Ice Punch. And does Arrow call it? No! The swap by Wadaj to soak that Ice Punch energy.
Yeah, what a smart play from Wadaj. Recognize that Arrow's switch time's not even up, so he couldn't even pivot out to Lickitung just yet before that Ice Punch was thrown. And now Wadaj is in such a commanding position.
Oh no, I had to use fire. Oh. Ew. What the
In game number 2 to bring this series to 1-1.
Really big adjustments from Wadaj in this game number 2, and also a big pivotal moment in my opinion is landing that Moonblast from the Altaria into the Lantern, unlike last game where it got shielded. You know, Lantern looked super safe for Arrow in back-to-back games. Wadaj finding a way to take out that Lantern, coming with so much energy on his own Lantern as well. And you can see the crucial swap. Looking at the timer on Arrow's side, the Lickitung was not up. So even if Arrow did not want to throw his Ice Punch, he still has to because the Medicham is in snarl range at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at that point, Wadaj is ahead because I believe the story of these two battles is the Lantern play. It has been the primary focal point for both of these trainers. Whoever keeps the Lantern healthier and is able to keep it in position with getting some type of energy advantage, it's so hard to deal with for both of these trainers. Game number one, Wadaj tried to finish it off with Medicham and almost took a ton of health onto the Medicham. And similar in this game number two, Wadaj just had so much energy onto that Lantern, was able to throw it into the Lickitung, and so to really set up the complementary pieces. So I'm definitely expecting that Lantern for both trainers in game number three. And do they both try to invest in it?
Yeah, I think the big adjustment that Arrow makes for game number three is he brings Altaria.
Right,
So
so
far,
then
dodging Altaria has been a huge problem for him, but also on top of that, he brings Lantern and he brings a combination of either Medicham or Umbreon, and Altaria is the most reliable check with Arrow has for that Umbreon. Obviously, he doesn't want that to match up with against Olo and Sandslash, but it doesn't look like Wadaj has been bringing it in these games. Arrow bringing Lickitung and Medicham in both these games, so Wadaj probably not going to bring that Olo and Sandslash in game number three, and I think Arrow makes that adjustment or bring his own Altaria.
Yeah, it's really hard. Even if you want to ABB with Umbreon, there's two answers. There's Lickitung and Medicham for that Shadow Low and Sandslash. So even if you bait out the Medicham with the Umbreon, maybe the Lickitung will be in the back. And here we are, game number three. And there it is, the Fronslass appearance, but it's led into the Umbreon. I like how Wadaj switched the Umbreon into the lead because it is the safest Pokemon here. And actually, Arrow's just staying in, throwing these avalanches.
Yeah, you can see Wadaj a little confused on why Arrow's even staying in. One of the worst matchups for Process, but it's because that Lickitung also has a terrible matchup, and catching the foul play on the Lantern, yes, this is neutral, but still a good expenditure and saving that Process to get healthy on the back end.
And is there going to be a pivot here, or do you just bank up some energy? Actually, just going for the back-to-back foul play. So now this Umbreon is completely energy dry in the backline if Wadaj does decide to pivot here. And there's the pivot. So Wadaj leaves that Umbreon energy dry and then swaps into his own Lantern. But Arrow got a significant energy advantage now.
I like this play from Wadaj. This puts Arrow in a really tough position because if Wadaj maintains alignment and takes out Arrow's Lantern, Arrow cannot comfortably come back in with Process, which means that Arrow has to reveal his third Pokemon, which is that Lickitung, setting up Wadaj with the information he needs on how to close out this game.
And I think Wadaj is going to be reluctant to use Protect Shields. I think he's expecting Medicham in the back. And if you don't have Protect Shields on Altaria, and Medicham gets them, actually does use the Protect Shield on a Surf Bait from Arrow. That doesn't feel great. I mean, it's not a huge difference in energy cost, but it is significant, especially if he can get to a Thunderbolt in the end if he Protect Shields this.
I think Arrow's expecting either a Medicham or a Process, which he is correct in that,
Yeah,
or a Medicham or Altaria on Wadaj's end. So he really wants to fight for switch advantage because, again, he also wants his Lickitung to match up against his Lantern protection. But Wadaj actually letting this Thunderbolt go through.
And now you can go for the Dragon Breath down and met by the Fronslass, but then pivoted. He pivoted out into the Fronslass, and now it's met by the Umbreon here. The Umbreon is getting really close to Avalanche range, but no protection. This is really dangerous for Wadaj. Extremely risky. You might get Powder Snow down here, but no, there is no Protect Shield remaining for Arrow. This should be a knockout. It is super effective. Umbreon doesn't hit so hard, but just about knocks out maybe one more Snarl, two more Snarl. Secures the knockout with Fronslass.
Absolutely calculated play from Wadaj, recognizing he has enough.
What the fuck? The clutch. What the fuck? How is she in bed? Oh my god. Umbreon.
Wadaj with a little sigh of relief here, knowing he has a Protect Shield advantage.
Umbreon clutching.
But it's not over yet.
What the fuck?
Needs to get the 3 body slams here, and it needs to be able to absorb 2 charge attacks. Will Wadaj go for the Moonblast Sky Attack, or does he try to go to double Moonblast? I don't know if he'll get the double Moonblast.
Yeah, or maybe even going to double Sky
It's
Attack might
1-1.
be enough. Let's see what Wadaj is going to do. Is charging up a lot of entry, is going to go for that Sky Attack.
Please
After
roll,
his first Sky
win.
Attack, you'll be able to see how much percentage of health this Lickitung is going to go down by. Which
Haron Blaze win.
I think double Sky Attack might be enough, and Arrow recognizing the
I
writing
need
on
to
the
kill
wall.
one more Pokemon
Really well played
current.
from both trainers, but Wadaj making that necessary adjustment after game number 1 to secure game number 3.
And here comes no Protect Shield onto this body slam, but Altaria is bulky enough to shake it off and Dragon Breath down the Lickitung. And Wadaj secures the matchup and moves on in the winner's side of this top 32, taking down
Wait, who
a
win?
fellow North American Arrow.
Oh my god, Wage win. I hate Wage won. GG's. Maybe I thought wrong about Wage. Wait, did he just said pesky Umbreon? Well, I'm just so tired because it's 3 AM.
That Frostlass unfortunately just did not have too many places to go. And Umbreon looking so strong for Wadaj at NEIC and again here at World Championships.
And Altaria became so safe once Frostlass was out of the picture, so maybe Arrow was predicting that Wadaj would lead that Altaria, and then he could get the lead into the Frostlass and switch that matchup. But it's just so hard.
Give me fucking potions. I don't wanna buy them.
Shadow Alolan Sandslash, because we don't really see those two together for the most part. But in this
Not
situation,
berries.
Wadaj completely mixed up his team. It's kind of like Paul Lash's team, but just a little bit better at the current meta here. As this situation, game number 1, Arrow is able to just lick down, and then it's just funny how the tables turned in game number 2,
Yeah.
and now suddenly Wadaj doesn't have Protect Shield, but it doesn't matter because he has the health advantage, and he's going to be able to fast attack down Arrow's complete line.
Yeah, Wadaj looked like
Actually, I thought the Arrow was gonna win from start. When I saw his name. I don't know any of them. Right, at least right now, I don't know any of them.
We can see the bulk of Umbreon taking the Avalanche. No problem with Dodge, not afraid of that Powder Snow down, recognizing this Umbreon can still get to this final foul play to almost take out this Frostlass, putting in snarl range, and then again, Arrow just have too much difficulty taking out this bulky flying dragon, and it will finish off.
And it seems like Umbreon has been the MVP so far for Wadaj, heavily leaning on it. He did in the North American International Championships.
Not even
but had a
gifts
different
can
roster
give me
around it.
fucking.
Now has that Shadow Alolan Sandslash. We haven't really seen it at all. It has the same weaknesses as Umbreon, but just double it up because it's double weak to those fighting type attacks. But not bring a steel type other than that Shadow Alolan Sandslash. So Shadow Alolan Sandslash is the steel type of choice, I think, because it's actually pretty consistent against Shadow Charizard, but then it's much better against Shadow Venusaur, which we've seen sprinkled throughout the tournament, much more Shadow Venusaur. So now suddenly that might be the best steel type out there to counter those two steel type counters.
Exactly. So, you know, that Umbreon just being so strong for Wadaj. And Wadaj, for those that don't know,
Fuck.
qualified for World
Fuck.
Championships last year in that seniors division and made it all the way to top 3, losing, I believe, to Allen leading up to that grand final. So he was one spot away from that podium, from that top 2 finish, and you know he is hungry to prove himself in this Masters division.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey for Wadaj because early on in the season, he was having some struggles. He was getting so close, but couldn't quite secure that world qualification. And he might have been getting in his head a little bit because if you asked around, even at the beginning of the season, almost a year ago, who do you think is the best trainer in North America? Everyone, he's your favorite trainer's favorite trainer because he is just so good. Everyone's like, oh, I don't have a game like Wadaj, but I'm just going to try my best here. He is actually
Well, he's
my
P
pick.
your favorite
P4T0M4N.
To win
Looks
the
cool.
World Championships. He's just been on fire in today.
cool.
He showed why
What's
he
his
is
name?
the favorite.
Yeah, and let's take a look at the rest of the picks here. I'll talk about mine real quick before we talk about our other casters pick. I picked out Auburn, actually won our final battles yesterday on day number 1. Only went to one tournament this year, which was Charlotte's, qualifying after getting second place finish, losing to Richie.
Wait, I can't buy
But I
anything
think
besides
Auburn also
max
had a
ones.
significant team comp
That's
disadvantage in that
dumb.
matchup and still played incredibly well. One of the strongest players here and consistently on that top spot of the Go Battle League leaderboard. I believe actually holds the record for the most amount of days in that in-game ladder at that number 1 spot. And I think the rest of the picks, Speed Chief chose Crescent Angels, number 3 finish at World Championships last year. So also one spot away in that match division. And I can't remember the other match of the other 2. I think Potamon and Paul Lasher were the other 2 picks from our co-casters, Gabby and Rob.
Yes, and Patamon is one of the other young prodigies. He is so talented, and Paul Asha was really dominant in this new iteration of the meta. Kind of really set the meta with her Shadow Alolan Sandslash team, and she was on, I believe, 18-2 in Torino, just completely dominant. So, I mean, I understand why they picked those trainers as well. They're extremely talented, and then Crescent Angels, of course, last year's top cut player at the World Championships and trying to make it on the loser side of the bracket, just like Dancing Rob did a year ago.
No, that's true.
Paul Lasher was actually knocked in the losers bracket during this World Championships from Potamon. So facing another very talented trader, and you know, even if you're in the loser side of the bracket in this tournament, there's still a lot of opportunities to make it all the way to that grand final, to take it all, because anything can happen, especially with these talented trainers. And you know, we're hearing some hype in the crowd. Let's take a look at the venue we have here and see what it's all about for those that are at home, want to join our action. Just look at the excitement, look at the decor at this incredible venue. If you love Pokemon, you gotta come to one of these World Championships one day.
Yeah, it's been so fun in our downtime to be able to walk around the venue, be with the whole Pokemon family, and just experience the world
Yeah, I
of
hope
Pokemon
this is
at
gonna be
the
enough
greatest
help.
place to do so. That's actually my
I wanna
favorite. That's
go
Snorlax
there
banner. It's
better,
actually
have
right in front of
money
Rick
to go
Casting.
there.
It just has some good energy, so I love that Snorlax banner right there.
Yeah, I actually saw you take a photo with it last night too, so definitely I can see you channeling your inner Snorlax there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was just our first matchup of the day.
Wow,
that
it's
felt
not
like
a
it should have
so
been
OP.
the matchup to be the finalists go to the championship Sunday, because two of the best trainers in North America, two of the most seasoned trainers in North America. But we have a full slate of battles, more epic matchups coming up. I believe we have our next matchup coming up really
Right now.
soon, and we have our trainers available. It's Rick Flareon, who was in Top Cut last year at the World Championships as well, right, Caleb?
Yes, actually, really important point that you brought up. Facing against AB Rip, another Australian. So I believe there's 3 Australian players in
nice,
remaining in this
Australian.
top 32. AB Rip and Rick Clarion facing off. Unfortunately, they kind of take out their own countrymen here,
Yes.
but they have another one, which is Valiant Fish.
Okay.
Rick Clarion
A
qualified
Rip.
for Worlds, and AB Rip actually back to back last year and this year. Rick Flareon notably also made top cut, top 16 last year, day number 2 at London World Championships last year, along with Valiant Fish. So there's something going on in Australia that I didn't know about, because these Australian players are locked
Oh
and
my
loaded
god,
on the
the
big
fucking
stage.
Pokemon
Yeah,
didn't
they
hit
keep
me
getting matched up
once.
against each other.
I'm
How
just
about
hit,
yesterday?
hit.
Valiant Fish with
Use my
versus
ability.
Djokovic,
Hit.
the OCIC champion, had to face
Yes,
each other.
sir.
Valiant Fish moved on,
Fire
in which
beat
Australian
physics.
trainer will move on today. Let's have
And
a
I
breakdown of the
just
team
did
and look
the
at the
whole
shadows
shit.
from Rick Flareon here. The Shadow
Yeah.
Alolan Sandslash,
Ooh.
Shadow Swampert, and Shadow Charizard. Not a ton of bulk here, but then of course,
Yeah, I feel like Rick
best
Flareon
two
is
Pokemon in the meta
gonna
right
win.
now, the Medicham, Lantern, and then to round it out, the Fire type of choice, Altaria.
Yeah, double flyers on Rick Flarion's side.
No,
Flareon,
actually,
but I think
Everett.
that's probably for a better
Everett, or what? How you pronounce it? Oh my god. Orbit is well.
choice,
Oh,
because it's
again?
not the best Pokemon greatly
Okay,
at the
We
moment.
got
I
one.
thought he's gonna be an
Oh, we got
Everett.
one on stage, yeah, but not on the team. AB Rip running Shadow Swampert, Altaria, Registeel, Lickitung, Medicham, and Shadow Charizard. Double flyers, both running that Shadow Charizard and
Okay.
Altaria.
Oh, coin
double
research,
flying
yes,
combo.
sir.
Maybe some potential team building
Ow,
that they
my
gave each other
eyes.
advice on leading up to the World Championships. Maybe not
Pikachu.
against each other. And
It's
this, I
stressed
believe, is the
Pikachu.
first time AB
Yes!
has ever been featured
That's
on
rare
stage in any
shit
battle. You know,
because it will not be
he asked me
available.
about it. He's like, what does it take to get on stage, Caleb? And I said, you know what? Just keep on winning and you'll eventually make it on here.
But-
And he clearly has been winning.
And it's
here
from
he is
Eventually.
for his debut on stream.
So
and we're
something
very excited to
counter,
see
see
how he plays.
boy.
Yeah, for his inevitable
Non-shiny, which is
appearance,
bad.
He is on the stage in similar shadows. The Shadow Swampert, Shadow Charizard, something that rise to occasion probably had some influence on from the North American International Championships. The one hard
So,
thing for Shadow
and from
Alolan
the
Sandslash
research
in
Elite
the
Fest,
current meta
yeah.
at the World Championships
And
is
one
number
more
one,
Pikachu,
number
that's
three in
great.
usage is Medicham and
I
Lickitung.
have
Two
to
kinda- I mean,
get so
Medicham
much
is a hard
Pikachu.
counter, but Lickitung is definitely a
Okay.
soft counter to that Shadow Alolan Sandslash. So I feel like, and then the Swampert as well. I feel like it's gonna be hard to bring that Shadow Alolan Sandslash, similar to
Wait,
with
wait,
Dodge's
wait.
situation.
Well, even more notable.
No, I
here
thought
is
it's
that
shiny, but it's
Flareon
not.
is only running Shadow Alolan Sandslash as his steel type.
Right.
Most trainers typically go for that bulkier Registeel or Galarian Stunfisk, even sometimes a Bastion, but only relying on the more frail Shadow Alolan Sandslash. Clearly something's working for Rick Flareon, but definitely an odder choice, a more unique choice out of competitors here.
And he brings it
Oh,
anyway!
and the lead too. What a fantastic lead for Rick Flareon.
The perfect scenario, and look, AV Rip actually was ABB strong to it, so bringing in an answer, and look, actually staying in. Rick Flareon decides to throw this drill run, and it's not a bad choice because you're not threatened by body slams or power whips, and no, just actually throwing that and then pivoting, and now being in a situation where you can keep alignment easily. I really love that play from Rick Flareon to ensure alignment of Shadow Lone Sandslash into Altaria.
I like this play a lot, but that Shadow Swamper actually looks really good for AV Rip right now. You get the Altaria out. I think AV Rip was hoping to draw this Altaria because AV Rip knows how strong this Lickitung is. One of the few things that really check it is that Altaria. Getting this out really sets up that Shadow Swamper for a lot of damage.
Yeah, the problem is I don't think any Protect Shields are going to go down in either of these matchups. I don't think AV Rip is going to invest a Protect Shield, and I know Rick Flareon is probably not going to invest a Protect Shield because he's going to get Dragon Breath down. It's just going to come in with the Shadow Lone Sandslash. The key factor for AV Rip here is he needs an energy advantage with the Shadow Swamper going into Shadow Charizard with 2 Protect Shields remaining.
Yeah, Rick Flareon needs to wait out the switch time because he's swapped out later. If he gets this Shadow Lone Sandslash stuck into the Shadow Swamper, even just one shot advantage, and you can see him shaking his head.
Quick.
He knows though this Shadow Swamper is ahead by one shot, which means that it will outpace to this third charge once both shields are expended on both sides.
He would have to call an instant swap, which is a tough call to make in this situation. We've seen some other trainers try to do it and even fail at times, so he didn't call the instant swap, and like you mentioned, now he's outpaced. He can't Protect Shield it because it's inevitable that he will lose that matchup, but now he's just getting worn down by Mudshots. Yes,
Wait. I can have a loop on it again. I can make a loop on it, yes sir.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think there's a lot of energy though on the Altaria in the back end, so I think Rick
This
Flareon
is
is still playing this
bad,
out
but good.
perfectly. AV Rip has the shield because you have to get that final shield from that Lone Sandslash. Is going to spend it. This is going to be really tight on how this matchup plays out.
Could you swap though? The timer is back. AV Rip does have the timer back available. He could try to swap onto this Ice Punch. Yeah, swap in the Ice Punch and soak that damage into the Altaria. Does he try to go for it? And he does!
He does go for it. He actually catches the Ice Punch. This has to be the most perfect undercharge from Rick Flareon.
Oh,
because the
it's
Shadow
gonna
Swamper
tell
doesn't
it's
have the Ice Punch again.
Pikachu.
Oh, it's not!
Maybe
it's
a little
perfect.
too much.
No, but now Sky Attack is available.
I don't need 6 skin. And okay. Okay, looks so good.
Wow.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Try to win it out. Rick Flareon shaking his head, trying to
Wasn't
find
like the last round.
undercharge. But Butters, I gotta ask you, how many times you ever undercharge an Ice Punch from a Shadow Lone Sandslash into Altaria? I don't blame him for not knowing how much undercharge in that matchup.
That did nothing. That literally did nothing. I mean, that felt like a not double super effective because it literally did no damage there. You would have to literally undercharge that so precisely to get the Shadow Claw down before the Sky Attack was available, and that is incredibly hard. In this situation, you see AV Rip gets that Mudshot advantage, so Rick Flareon has to let his Shadow Charizard go, and there was the swap of the day, a double super effective swap, so Rick Flareon was forced to undercharge it and undercharged it a little too much.
A little bit too much, and you can see the look on his face there too, shaking his head a little bit. I mean, I gotta be honest, Butters, when he said like, maybe he's gotta catch an Ice Punch, I'm like, I don't know, Butters, that seems like a weird strategy, but that was exactly the strategy AV Rip needed to secure that win. I mean, talk about a tough lead matchup, right? Shadow alone Sandslash into Altaria. It doesn't get worse than that when you're facing against Rick Flareon's team, but finding a win condition there. Perfect calculation from AV Rip to swap the Lickitung, draw out that Altaria, and then try to sweep with that Swampert, but actually it turned out it was Altaria that took out the Shadow Lone Sandslash.
And I like to point out the fact that that swap was not when Ice Punch was available for Rick Flareon. He waited until he was closer to that Hydro Cannon, and Rick Flareon would get a little nervous to then swap into the Altaria. Just beautiful play from AV Rip there, and it's a shame we haven't seen him on stage yet, because this is amazing coming back from Altaria into Shadow Alolan Sandslash lead. That has to feel bad for Rick Flareon, because Rick Flareon, it's hard to bring Shadow Alolan Sandslash into this matchup, and then you get the best case possible matchup, and you still go down in game number 1. I'm expecting Rick Flareon to actually sit that Shadow Alolan Sandslash to try to reverse sweep this series against a fellow trainer from the region.
Let's see how it's going to be Altaria mirror match to start off game number 2. Actually running double flyer in this situation for Rick Flareon.
Yeah, and bringing the Shadow Charizard in the back once again. It doesn't look good if AV Rip is able to get even a mud shot of extra energy. It's hard to position this Shadow Charizard as the Sky Attack is going to be coming through. Does Rick Flareon just try to go for the Moonblast? I like this play. I like this play much better. And actually, looks like AV Rip just letting go comfortable, soft losing this matchup. There's no way you one-shot it down, so you're going to have to lick it down.
Yeah, but this Limdon actually looks really poised for a chance to do a lot of damage in the back end. Not getting a single Sky Attack off. Now Lickitung has energy almost at a body slam and closing in on a power whip. You have to you actually bring in the Charizard, but that Lantern doesn't have a lot of places to go.
Yeah, I mean, because Swampert is in the back, there is no place to go. Double weak to Swampert was AVB weak to Swampert, but couldn't swap out of that Altaria lead matchup. So what a team composition call from AV Rip, and suddenly this will be crucial. Can you get the Protect Shield onto this Lickitung with the Dragon Claw?
Huge
and the call by AV Rip!
Rick Flareon actually throwing one wing attack before the Blast Burn. AV Rip confident in his calls, in his counts, and recognizing it is not that hard-hitting Blast Burn. Throwing a Bison, which is not going to be shield from Rick Flareon, and now Rick Flareon going again for that Dragon Claw. I can see this not getting shielded because Swampert looks so good up a shield against everything in the back end. And first Rick Flareon, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Can he get to the Dragon Claw?
No, he gets the full mud shot down. That is devastating for Rick Flareon.
Oh, and this is a Spark Lantern too, not even the Water Gun Lantern.
And now AV Rip probably has the time to go straight Earthquake. He's nodding his head. There's only one Protect Shield remaining, and the Earthquake is able to go through, and AV Rip takes the series 2-0.
2 shields remaining as well. AV Rip making quite the debut on his first stage performance. He's been waiting a long time to make it all the way to this point, and what a way to showcase his appearance.
Yeah, I mean, that was amazing. Game number 1, just able
That's
to
good.
Swampert to win the game and then swap into that matchup. And yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. That is high-level Pokemon Go PvP, and it's just a shame that some of these trainers from the same region are having to face each other so early on. They know each other well. You see the camaraderie there. Well played to both trainers, and Rick Flareon is going to be down to the side of the bracket, but really impressed to his performances in this World Championship last year's as well.
Yeah, back-to-back top cuts in World Championships. Valiant Fish, another trainer from Australia with those back-to-back top cuts. But let's not forget about AV Rip. He said, you know what, I also made it to World Championships last year. Yes, I didn't make it to top 16, but I am inching towards that. I think actually already made it top 16 here at World Championships in Yokohama, Japan, because he just won the first round.
Yeah, I think that win does secure top 16. So so that's really impressive. And first time on stage, you mentioned, right? That's incredible. First time on stage to make a catch like that is just insane, because I mean, I think it does take getting used to playing on stage. Actually, it's a good moment to ask you, because you've played a lot on stage in your Pokemon Go Championship Series career. If you didn't know, Caleb Peng has qualified for the World Championships twice this season. What is the difference of playing on stage? Or are you used to it because you're already on stage anyway while you're casting?
I gotta say, it's a little different experience, because on stage when you're battling, you can't really see the opponent's team. So it's a little bit more nerve-wracking as you're trying to predict your opponent's composition, trying to make those plays. I would say, I think it depends on a personal preference. Me personally, I enjoy it a little bit more because you're kind of dialed in. You got the white noise going on, and you got the judges and the opponent in your ear if anything goes on. Trying to put on a show, right? But sometimes you get completely swept, and that's not the best feeling. for the most part, though, any trainer that wants to do well, you definitely want to get comfortable on that stage. You get comfortable because if you want to win it all, you eventually got to be on stage. And AB Rift was ready for his moment. Now, we talked about Rick Flareon and Valiant Fish racing back-to-back World Championships, but also back-to-back top cuts. The other two trainers to do that for in history of Pokemon Go is Axon, who's also still in that winner's bracket, also made that top cut. I believe finished fourth or fifth place in the world last year. Yeah, fifth place, I think. The highest North America finisher. And then we had Crescent Angel, who got that third place finish at World Championship last year at London, also back-to-back top cuts. And with Dodge is kind of a different situation because he's in the seniors division, so there wasn't really a top 16 top cut.
I think this is finals or
top 3 in the
pre-finals.
seniors division in itself is pretty impressive.
It's
So those 5 players, definitely players to look out for. But again, Rick Flareon Ray taken out by AB Rip, so anyone can take it.
I mean, it's clear how strong that seniors division is, just because of how talented it was last season into this season, and the fellow Aussies going at it here, and there was that one mud shot advantage that flips this matchup. What's crazy is Shadow Charizard is a Shadow Swampert counter if it is the same energy situation, and this was one of the most fun catches I've ever seen. And this is tough. I didn't think this would do so little. A double super effective ice punch that felt like an undercharged body slam.
I don't think Rick Flareon realized it was going to do so little as well. And you know, for anyone that's doing that's not as familiar with Pokemon Go PvP, the reason why Rick Flareon did that is because he didn't want to throw the ice punch at full damage. If you do, it completely knocks out the Altaria, but that means that the Shadow Swamper on the grip side outpaces through that Hydra can take out the Shadow Alolan Sandslash. So yes, there's a lot of tapping in this game, but there's a lot of very precise play that you have to make, and just based on, you can just tell from these players, just based on how they are reacting to situations, they know, right? Rick Flareon knew the moment that Shadow Swamper was ahead by 1 mud shot, he already knew that matchup was lost if he spent shield, why he purposely chose not to shield in that situation.
Yeah, and then it was the tough situation of trying to be able to knock out that Swampert and not wanting to throw straight away because not wanting it to be swapped on, but then it does get swapped on anyway because he threw it late. So just brilliant from both trainers. That's high-level Pokemon Go PvP because you really understand the tactics, you understand what your opponent is trying to look for, and you're trying to make your own moves unpredictable. But in that situation, AB Rip did get the better of Rick Flareon.
Exactly. This game, you know, Pokemon Go PvP, a lot of people say, it's kind of on the simpler end, but the further you get into it, there's a lot more nuance than you think. And if you're watching at home, you want to give it a shot, open up Pokemon Go, download the app if you don't have it ready, and try out the Go Battle League. Make sure you're joining in and watching the stream so you can get that Twitch giveaway, because we have that Twitch drop for Dancing Robs, Galarian Stumpus, the one that won in World Championships last year. Galarian Stumpus, a great Pokemon to add to your roster in Great League and Ultra League, and hey, here's your chance to get it.
Yeah, make sure to get that, and make sure to get your welcome kit as well. So check out this video.
Shit, no one for fucking 3 years. There's such good videos. I'm about to go to bed. Okay, I'm gonna stop here because I'm gonna go to bed right now because I'm fucking tired. It's almost 4 AM. My voice is and I have to make videos, so yeah, we're gonna watch this tomorrow to the end.